Good morning everyone. Let's start with a new video, that is yoga. Contents will be a definition, difference between yoga and conventional exercises, benefits, classification of yogasanas, Ashtanga yogasana and importance. The classification of yogasana, Ashtanga yoga and importance of yoga will be dealing with the next class. We'll just deal in brief about different yoga postures. So let's start today. Definition of yoga is, in particular, it's been documented so many times and the definition varies every time. Yoga is a practical aid. It is not a religion. It is an ancient art based on harmonizing system of development for body, mind and spirit. This practice of yoga makes the body strong and flexible. It also improves the functioning circulatory, digestive and hormonal system. Yoga brings about emotional stability and clarity of the mind because it targets the subcortical system. Let's look at the difference. You will understand later. Talking about the importance of yoga. Good health, longevity of life because increase in oxygen supply, because yoga is mainly focused on breathing along with the exercise, that is static posture. Less expenditure of energy while performing the exercise because continuous breathing leads to supply of plenty of oxygen amount to every muscle whichever is undergoing exercise. Greater impact on mind and body. Something known as awareness within, that is internal awareness, which is commonly seen in yoga. Thus, greater impact is imposed on the mind as well as the body. Hence, mental and physical power is definitely improved on an individual who performs yoga regularly. Improves immunity of the body system as it incorporates breathing along with the exercise. Best example is pranayama. Pranayama is known to purify the blood. Yoga also is known to improve the flexibility of body. Everyone knows it, and it uses least amount of physical energy. Now coming to the differences between yoga and conventional physiotherapy. When we as a physiotherapist hear or listen to yoga practitioner, we need to understand what are the differences, why yoga is performed for a particular condition and why physiotherapy, conventional physiotherapy will be good when you want to see the effect in that particular condition. To understand that, you need to check the differences first. Yoga acts on parasympathetic nervous system and conventional physiotherapy acts on sympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic nervous system is relax and rest, or is rest and relax. Sympathetic nervous system is fight and flight, correct? Fight and fear, fight and flight. F, all three F's. So when we are talking about yoga, we need to focus on the breathing, also on the subconscious system, that is your meditation, that is targeting the subcortical region. Thus relaxation is more evident, hence parasympathetic nervous system. Conventional, we target cortical. What we tell the patient after giving 5 set of exercise on the first day of the OPD visit, second day when he comes, what we tend to ask him? We tend to ask him whether he remembers the exercises. That is nothing but you are targeting the cortical system, not the subcortical system. Thus he has to remember, he has to move. We need to get the withdrawal response when he touches the hot pan. We need to get the elbow flexion. So that is all your cortical region, and that is sympathetic nervous system. Second one, so yoga is known for slow dynamic static movement, whereas conventional repetitive and forceful movement. I have changed the font because yoga is definitely focusing on slow and dynamic and static movement, whereas in conventional it may vary. There is definite repetitive because you need to get the movement. You have to do the muscle re-education so that the muscle and brain learns the movement, whereas forceful movement is still a doubt. Every time forceful movement is not done. In spasticity, there's a condition known as spasticity wherein the muscle becomes very tight, it is hypotonic. So in that condition, if you do forceful movement, the spasticity increases. Thus this forceful movement is sometimes effective in conventional physiotherapy and not every time. Coming to the low calorie consumption, yoga is very slow, rhythmic with breathing incorporation, thus it is low calorie consumption. And conventional physiotherapy, calorie consumption is dependent on the metabolic equivalent of the exercise performed. So when we are talking about metabolic equivalent, we have minimal, submaximal and maximal. So depending on that, of MET of the exercise varies for that particular exercise or that particular condition. Yoga is known to normalize the muscle tone, whereas conventional physiotherapy alters. If you want to increase the muscle tone, there are different sets of exercise. If you want to decrease the muscle tone, there are different sets of exercise. Now yoga is known to get what balanced activity of opposing muscle groups, that is agonist and antagonist, and conventional physiotherapy is only focus on only one group. If you want to train biceps brachii, improve the strength of biceps brachii, what you need to do, give the resistance to biceps brachii only, so that it improves its strength. In conventional physiotherapy, we do follow one more theory known as, when we are stimulating, when we are doing exercises of biceps brachii, there's something known as gamma motor neuron inhibition. The gamma motor neurons start from the biceps brachii, ends up in the triceps brachii, thus inhibiting the triceps muscle. So thus in conventional physiotherapy, we follow strength of one muscle, inhibition of the other muscle. Yoga is known to focus more on breath while maintaining a posture, whereas conventional physiotherapy focus is more on activity and contraction of the muscle or joint movement rather than breath. In yoga, awareness is internal, and in conventional physiotherapy, awareness is external. Now, what is this internal and external? In yoga, when we are talking about internal awareness, it is focuses more on breath and the infinite. That is, when you are meditating, that is subcortical region is targeted, you go into subconsciousness. So thus the awareness is internal. When you are talking about conventional physiotherapy, awareness is definitely external. For example, best example is biofeedback. You need to look into the mirror while doing the movement. So this is, the awareness is external. You are understanding the movement is wrong or right through external device. So thus the focus is on reaching the toes, reaching the finish line, etc. Coming to the benefits of yoga. Physiological benefit. Let's first deal with the physiological benefit of yoga. Stable autonomic nervous system equilibrium. When we are talking about autonomic nervous system, there are two types, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Yoga focuses on equilibrium between sympathetic as well as parasympathetic, though the main focus is on parasympathetic to normalize everything, get back to the normal, and also on the subconscious control. With this tendency of stabilizing the equilibrium between autonomic nervous system towards the parasympathetic nervous system dominance, that's what I told, rather than usual stress-induced sympathetic system dominance. Stress-induced sympathetic system dominance is definitely seen in conventional physiotherapy. One more physiological benefit of yoga is it decreases pulse rate, respiratory rate and blood pressure because it targets parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and relax. Yoga is known to increase galvanic skin response along with alpha waves and cardiorespiratory and respiratory efficiency. So these are the structures where it increases, the response, that is your galvanic skin response, alpha wave increases, cardiorespiratory and respiratory efficiency. Alpha wave increases along with theta, delta and beta wave also increase during various stages of meditation. Initially, when a patient starts with meditation, there's nothing increased. Gradually, he can, you can see the waves are getting increased in nature. These waves, some waves are responsible for anxiety, some waves are responsible for calming down, some waves are responsible for sleep as well. So this alpha, theta, delta and beta are different kinds of wave which you can see in electroencephalograph. Coming down to cardiorespiratory and respiratory efficiency, we know yoga incorporates breathing, so there's a lot of breathing, there's a lot of oxygen consumed by your body, thus helping improvement of efficiency of cardiorespiratory and respiratory system alone. Yoga is known to normalize gastrointestinal function, endocrine function, excretory function, weight normalizes, sleep improves and along with the immunity increases. Coming down to the second point, that is your psychological. There's increase in somatic and kinesthetic awareness, that is your proprioception. There's a lot of increase in the proprioceptive feedback when you perform the yoga because you're going to maintain the static position for a certain period of time, thus increasing the proprioceptive flow towards the brain, thus increasing the somatic and kinesthetic sensation awareness. Coming down to the mood. Mood elevates, improves, and subjective well-being increases. There are n number of studies done. You can check on the Google Scholar or on Google itself, suggesting that yoga is known to elevate the mood. Not only yoga, any exercises is going to boost up your mood, because it is going to boost up your blood supply along with the endocrine flow as well, thus leading to improvement of the mood. Yoga is known to increase self-acceptance and self-actualization along with social adjustment. If you give a patient like who is depression patient, if you tell him to do certain set of exercise, initially you'll not find anything. Later on he just gets involved into the society, that is social adjustment, along with he himself accepts that however he looks, it is good. There's nothing to do with the appearance, or even if he has a deformity for the lifetime. Coming down to psychological benefit, decreasing in. Yoga is known to decrease anxiety, that is your high rush full of blood wherein you become anxious. Depression, yoga is going to decrease the level of depression, thus alleviating your mood and hostility. Now coming down to the next point, biomechanical, that is your third point, biomechanical effects. Yoga is known to decrease glucose, sodium, total cholesterol, triglycerides, LDL, VLDL cholesterol, catecholamines and total WBC count. Whereas your HDL being very important cholesterol, yoga is known to increase HDL cholesterol, cholinesterase to break down the cholesterol, ATPase to break down the ATP whenever your muscle is working, hematocrit, hemoglobin, it's going to improve because we need hemoglobin, lymphocyte count, which is a defense mechanism we already learned, immunity increases while doing yoga, thyroxine, vitamin C, total serum protein, oxytocin, prolactin and oxygen level is all your endocrine, and in the brain increases. Now coming down to the fourth point, that is your biomechanical. Yoga is known to improve grip strength, dexterity and fine skill. So it is very important when someone has a complaint of cannot write, you have to suggest him yoga, static posture. It is known to decrease the EMG activity because of increased blood supply, increased oxygen supply, the muscle tends to recruit lesser number of fibers whenever you want to do the action as the person was recruiting earlier. Imagine I am not doing yoga, I have not practiced yoga for years, and then I have been contracting out of 100 fibers, I have been recruiting 50 fibers when I'm eating my food of biceps brachii because I need elbow flexion. On performance of yoga for around 10 years, instead of recruiting 50 fibers while contracting my biceps brachii during eating, I might contract 25, I might recruit 25 fibers alone. Thus, EMG activity of the muscle decreases on performance of yoga for a long time. Second one, it improves muscle flexibility because of the static maintenance of the posture, and thus flexibility, once the muscle flexibility is improved, definitely the joint range of motion is as well as improved. The fourth point is it improves biomechanically efficient posture, because there are certain postures in yoga which is known to lengthen your spine, stretch every muscle out, thus decreasing the tightness of the muscle, especially of the spinal muscle, leading to an ideal posture. Coming to the fifth point, that is your psychomotor function. Eye-hand coordination is definitely improved, choice reaction time is improved, steadiness, depth perception, balance and integrated functioning of the body part is as well as improved when you perform, gradually improved when you perform the yoga. Sixth point is cognitive function, attention, concentration, memory, learning efficiency, symbol coding, flicker fusion frequency improves, because in yoga we are targeting the subcortical region. Coming down to the next part and the final part for today's lecture is yogic posture. The first one is Ardha Navanasana. It is also known as your the base of support in this posture is your triangle, that is your tripod. So this pose is also known as your half boat exercise. Half boat pose or your half boat exercise. Base of support is tripod sitting. It increases flexibility of body, steadiness in the core, steadiness in the core, flexibility of body, and helps in maintaining balance. Very important, because you need to maintain balance in this position only on this base of support that is very small. It stimulates the abdominal organ and the digestive system along with the metabolic rate. It strengthens the abdomen, hip flexors, and the entire spine. So Ardha Namanasana is known to strengthen hip flexor, abdominals, and the entire spinal column. This is known as half boat pose. Now coming to the next posture, that is your Utkatasana. Utkatasana is known as chair pose. Chair pose. Now this pose corrects your posture, because you cannot be like this, you have to be like this. That's what we discussed in the class. If your knee is crossing the foot, look at the image, whatever is the posture of the spine, the knee is still maintained within the line of the foot. If the knee is crossing after the foot ahead, then it is wrong. The knee should not cross, the knee should lie within the foot line. That is the correct posture of Utkatasana. This posture of yoga, that is chair pose or Utkatasana, corrects the posture, improves balance, gives the good tone in lower extremities, strengthens ankle because the entire weight is borne in this position on the ankle, stimulates the cardiovascular system. Now coming to the next one, that is your Uthita Parva Konasana. Sorry for the pronunciation. Uthita Parva Konasana. This is going to stretch out your lateral spinal structure, inferior capsule of the shoulder joint, latissimus dorsi, which is present here, and the quadratus lumborum, which is present here. It's going to stretch out. It relieves the tension in ipsilateral shoulder and the lateral spinal region. This is going to relieve the tension, thus reducing the thus stretching the lateral side of the spine, thus reducing the back pain if localized to the lateral side. This is known as Uttita Parva Konasana. Next one is Chaturanga Dandasana. Everyone knows this. This is known as your plank pose. Plank pose. It requires co-contraction of abdominal, lower back muscle, gluteal, hip muscle, the cervical extensor, cervical flexor. Everything is parallel. Look at the line. Everything is parallel. It is not, her hip is not tilted down, nor her cervical is, extended. Everything lies to be parallel only. This requires co-contraction of neck flexors and extensors, abdominals and back extensor, gluteus and iliopsoas, hamstring, and the quadriceps. So this requires co-contraction of everything. The base of support is very minimal, that is on hand and only on the toes. Hence, it improves balance and steadiness. It strengthens all the above mentioned muscles, whichever we were targeting. Next one is Vrikshasana. This is also known as tree pose. Now, this improves balance and concentration. It also aids in neuromuscular coordination. It tones the lower extremity muscle, because this has to be maintained in swing continuously with base of support being in air, and this has to be maintained in stance. Entire body weight, that is trunk, hip, upper extremity, head, is supposed to be borne only on this, even plus the leg of this, which is in the swing phase, has to be borne only on the one leg, that is your stance phase. Thus, it's going to tone up the lower extremity muscle and also improve the spinal posture. Coming down to the next one, that is Tadasana. This is known as mountain pose. This stretches your spine and improves the posture and respiration. Coming down to the next one, that is Dhanurasana, also known as bow pose. Okay, this position is going to, it stretches, gives the flexibility to the spine. It's going to maximum stretch for abdomen, that is your anterior aspect, and then leads to the concentric contraction of the back extension, that is your posterior aspect. It definitely is known to relieve the back pain in hypomobile intervertebral joint. The next one is Ardha Chandrasana. Ardha Chandrasana, as you can see, the weight bearing is only on one limb, that is your lower extremity. The weight bearing surface is only 1 foot, hence thus is known to improve your balance. Next one is Trikonasana. This is, as the name suggests, it is known as your spinal twist. Gives the twisting, rotation aspect to your lumbar spine. Next one is Ustrasana. As you can see, it is going to stretch up the abdomen and then is going to contract the posterior muscle. Thus leading to the lengthening of the anterior aspect and shortening of the posterior aspect. The weight bearing is good, it's going to improve the efficiency of the abdominal muscle. Next one is your Baddha Konasana. In this position, it is just relaxation position, usually given for women for pelvic floor strengthening. They are just going to grab up the feet by the bilateral upper extremity and just sit for some time for relaxation and stretch the spine out. Next one is Paschimottanasana. This is known to stretch the hamstring, very important, along with the back extensor muscle. Next one is Uttanasana. In this, you're going to stretch up again the hamstring, but only this part, that is your origin part. In this, we are going to stretch. If the person is not touching the feet, her hands are parallel to the feet but not touching the feet, she is going to stretch the insertion part. If the hands are touching the feet, as you can see in the diagram, she is going to stretch the origin as well as insertion, that is your Paschimottanasana, along with the gastrosum part. But in Uttanasana, she is just going to stretch the origin. She is not going to focus mainly on insertion of the hamstring. Next one is Dandasana. So this is the position which is going to stretch out the spine, thus leading to relieving of the back pain. Next one is Balasana. Again, stretch out the entire spinal column. The last one after performance of breathing is Shavasana. That is the straight pose. This is best known for relaxation of the spine. The relaxation of not only the spine, the entire body. So this was the end of the lecture. Let's meet you all in the next video.